So today we are going to talk about the RX 470. Now this thing is an antique. It came out like 8 years ago and has been replaced by like 4 generations since. Will become the 5 generations old this year once the RX 8000 series launch. But the thing is, this card can still play a lot of games at 1080p. And by a lot, I mean a lot. Pretty much everything. Once you're ready to dial down the settings a bit, you can get playable frame rates on an 8-year-old card. How crazy is that? I mean, this thing is selling for crazy cheap in the used market. Maybe you can pick up one for like $50-60. I paid around 4,000 rupees for this card over here, which is like about $50, even a bit less. So that makes this GPU a crazy deal, given that new GPUs start at around 170 to 200 these days if you're looking for the latest cards. So, should you buy the RX 470? Well, what I did was after I bought this card, I put it into test in a lot of video games, and let's find out whether you should spend your money on an 8-year-old GPU today in 2024.
Okay, so first up we are going to look at Red Dead Redemption 2. Now this is an old game, but hey, it's still pretty relevant. So we are going to use a mix of medium and high and ultra settings. Straight out of the bat we are getting in the upper 30s. Average is around 40 from the previous test. This is not the best frame rate, but hey, it's pretty playable. I mean, the game looks pretty smooth. If you look at the frame time graph, it's quite stable. There are a couple of stutters, but nothing is that noticeable. Now let's move on to Spider-Man Miles Morales. We're going to use a mix of medium and high settings in this game, and we are getting 60 frames per second here, 70 over there. It's a bit around upper 50s and upper 60s, 55 to 60s, 5 is what we are getting right now. Now this scene is not the most forgiving, your web zipping around New York, so this is pretty much as worse as it will get in this game, and it's like a smooth, stable 60 frames per second. Next up is Far Cry 6. We are going to use a high settings in this game. Let's move on to color over here. Okay, VSync is turned off. I'll turn on FSR over here pretty quick. I'll set it to performance. The game does look a bit weird with performance, but hey, we are getting 60. Obviously this is like locked to the frame rate of your refresh rate of your monitor, I'm sorry. So if you like dial that down to balanced or FSR to like even quality, you can still maintain something around the 50s or around upper 40s, and that's pretty playable. But as it turns out, Far Cry 6 isn't the most demanding game out there, and this is pretty much playable on the RX 470. Okay. Next up is Cyberpunk 2077. Now, this is one of the most demanding games still, even after almost 4 years since its release. So we are going to rely on the high settings over here. FSR 2.1 will be set to quality, and we are getting 47 over there, 52, 49. Yeah, so upper 50s, upper 40s, early 50s. Not the best for a first-person game like Cyberpunk, but hey, this is pretty playable. If you look at the frame time graph, it's almost a straight line. There are no noticeable stutters and stuff. And also, like, this is the most demanding scene of the benchmark, so the game is pretty playable. Upper 40s, you can manage it. If you want more performance, you can obviously go for FSR balanced or performance. Okay, next up is Plague Tale Requiem. Let me go to the high settings in the game. Yeah, that should be it. Okay, so how much are we getting? Okay, the frame rates are around the early 20s. Average is 33, but this is not the most demanding area of the game. It does get way more demanding than this. And this is not really playable on the RX 470. It's constantly dropping below 30 FPS. But that's alright. Plague Tale Requiem is one of the most demanding games out there. Okay. Next up is Ghost of Tsushima, the PC port. I'm going to use FSR frame generation. Very high settings because we are using frame generation over here. I'll just drop that down to high just to be safe and all. Okay, I think that should be it. And we are getting, oh my god, that's 95 frames per second. I mean, this is not the most demanding area of the game. It does get a bit more demanding, but it's fine. Like 80 FPS over there. This is pretty playable, especially on an 8-year-old card. This is quite respectable performance. Next up is Atomic Heart. We will be using the high settings in this game with DLSS. I don't know why that says DLSS over there, but yes, FSR set to quality preset and all. Ray tracing obviously is turned off. Let's look at the performance now. We are getting 38 frames over there, 39. So upper 30s is what you can get, and Atomic Heart is a pretty demanding game, and this is not the most demanding areas of the game, so things can get a bit rough in this game. Okay, yeah, there was a huge stutter over there. I mean, if you're willing to drop the settings to something like medium or a mix of medium and low, I believe most of these stutters would go away. But yeah, this is how it is right now.
Alright, now, the gaming performance is pretty good. I mean, you can get 60 FPS in most games out there, especially if they're well optimized like Ghost of Tsushima. But the thing is, this GPU does not support a lot of new technologies. No mesh shaders, no ray tracing. FSR runs on this thing, yes, technically, but there is no inbuilt hardware to run upscaling. So you won't get gains as high as you would in a new RX 6000 or RX 7000 GPU. That leaves this thing at a disadvantage, but hey, if you don't have the budget for one of the new GPUs, this thing still kicks ass. And I have to say this, it does. So, now for the final verdict. Should you buy an RX 470 in 2024? Well, you should. It's pretty cheap. It gets very close to the RX 470 in terms of performance, and it can still game. That's the point of GPUs. And if you are in a tight budget, or if you're a beginner, like let's say you're building your first gaming PC and you have only about $300-400 to spend, the RX 470 is a fantastic choice. This thing is faster than the 1650, and that GPU is selling for a bit more. I mean, the 1650 cannot handle any game these days, and it also has 4GB of VRAM. This thing solves all of those issues. You get 8GB of VRAM. That's actually a lot for a $50 card. I mean, Nvidia is still launching 6GB GPUs. The 4050 laptop has 6GB of VRAM in 2024, and 8GB is enough for 1080p gaming in 2024. So you won't face a massive problem if you are playing on this card. Now for the final verdict. Should you buy the RX 470 in 2024? Yes, you should, especially the 8GB version. I don't want to comment about 4GB cards anymore because they have fallen out of fashion for a long time now. But if you're getting the 470 8GB for about $50 to $70, it's a great deal, just get one. But that's pretty much it. You won't be disappointed with the performance this thing can push out at 1080p. But that's pretty much it. You cannot dial up the resolution to 1440p, and in some of the latest games like Starfield and Alan Wake 2, this thing is going to cry. But if you want to play competitive titles, some of the older games, like let's say something that came out in 2020 or 2019, this GPU can handle all of that, like we just saw. So yeah, that's for the video. The RX 470, I wasn't expecting it to perform this well, to be honest. I was expecting it to play games at 1080p, but well, this thing has amazed me. 2016 GPUs are still pretty relevant. Haha, as it turns out. Recently I tested out the 1060 6GB card, that's also a 2016 GPU, and that thing amazed me as well. You can check out that video over here, and I'll be back with another graphics card video very soon.